Hello everybody, this is Ben from the Wallace Workshop LLC. Come with me as I make this wooden American flag that I made. If you like what you see, please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. I'm going to start off with two 1x8s that I got from the home center. Then I'm going to cross-cut these boards at about 38 inches, and then I'll trim them up to 37 inches later on. I'm having some scraps that I'll use for a backer and for a frame later on. Next, what I like to do is I take each board and I cut a little bit off on one end. That way I can flip it over and have a flat reference against the surface of the fence to be able to cut my strips later on. Next, what I like to do is surface plane them or skip plane them a little bit just to get all the marks and dings off of it from the home center. So it takes them just below 3/4 of an inch, not that crazy. But I make sure I do it on every single board here so everything can be about the same. Obviously I've got an old planer and I'm producing a lot of chipping here. And then because I'm lazy at cleaning up, I have a nice little leaf blower here that I take care of all the dust with. Alright, now I'll set my table saw to 1.5 inches, and that's the thickness of each of the strips of the flag. I'm using that flat surface that I cut earlier to reference that up against my fence, and it helps me get straight cuts. And then I use this little jerry rig push stick to help me push things through. There you go, I've got 13 strips for 13 stripes of the flag. Next I'm cutting some backers for the support for the back of the flag. You'll see that here shortly. And then I take each strip and I take this little propane torch and torch each side of the strip here. Burn, baby, burn. Here I am trying to figure out the best orientation of all the strips. Basically, I try to reduce the amount of knots shown on the face side. One, it's hard to kind of carve through knots when you're using the Dremel for the union, so I try to avoid that. And then the knots just don't sit well with the stain sometimes, so I try to use as little knots as I can. Now I'm taking the steel union stencil that I have, and I'm going to basically scribe a line to be able to tape off the union to be able to stain everything. I got these this steel template from Amazon from That Flag Company. I'll put a link in the description below. Be an affiliate link, so if you're interested, please hit that up. It kicks me back some money to help support the business and the channel. And I'm just using a marking gauge here. I like this a little bit better than a pen. This also kind of helps reduce the bleeding between the two stains. And I'm only doing 3 lines here because this is going to be a thin red line flag. I don't need to have multiple colors. Alright, then I use this fancy little cutter from Ryobi to be able to cover my table saw to stain because I don't have a dedicated workbench yet. In the future, I'll get one, so I'm not staining up my nice table saw that I paid a lot of money for. I use this True Black from Minwax from Lowe's for all my black. Here I am taping off my union on those 3 stripes. I use frog tape to help the process. Again, scoring the wood and using frog tape definitely reduces the amount of bleed. And then I just take each I take each stripe here and just stain them with a foam brush. I make sure I wear gloves, so A, I don't get my hands dirty and I don't get anything else dirty. I don't wipe the finish or anything like that. I just kind of paint it on there and let it sit. One thing that I normally do, and for whatever reason I didn't do this, but for each surface that I stain, I also kind of come over and stain a little bit of the side too, just in case if the flag is put together it's not completely flat, you can't really notice like extra white or exposed wood where it's not supposed to be. And here you can see that I'm painting in the union on some of these stripes here. My dog is playing with me, so if you hear her in the background, I'm sorry. This is my first YouTube video, so please forgive the harshness of the editing and the recording. You stop. Alright, now you can see it's starting to look like an American flag a little bit. Again, I got black stripes instead of red, white, and blue. And then here in a second, I'll paint another stripe, this red. Pause the screen, but I think this is crimson red that I got. Again, from Minwax from Lowe's. I think Ace Hardware has them as well. Not sponsored, hashtag, whatever you want to call it. It wasn't smart to stain this over the flag like this, but again, I don't have a lot of work services at this time, so you gotta do what you got. Gotta make do with what you got. And there it is, thin red flag. Now I got this flag and this flag clamping jig that I made a few months ago. Where you see the square there, or the rectangular, is where I have the union, so it's kind of upside down facing towards me. I know it's in the right orientation. And then over here on your left, my right, I am putting a strip so the flag won't walk on me when I'm trying to glue it up. Then I use these 2x4s that I ended up cutting in half and kind of screwing them down to kind of help flatten the flag. Then eventually I'll put some F-style clamps to help kind of squeeze it together vertically. I really don't like this setup. I think it's because maybe I was just quick to build it and I didn't really line things up like I was supposed to, but it is kind of cumbersome to do it this way. As you can tell, I'm trying to like shove things down and push things down, whereas, you know, when I was just using pipe clamps and cawls, I think I had better success in it. So I may end up going back to that method, or maybe try to improve this flag clamping method. I'm not 100% sure yet, but I won't be doing this in the future. Again, I'm sure there's other jigs out there that work perfectly fine, but this is just not great for me. So what I do is I glue and then I nail some backers onto the flag here. I didn't put any glue in between the strips. Again, I used to do it, now I don't. I may go back to doing it again. And then basically each stripe gets a nail in it per backer, and I kind of offset the, or angle the nails a little bit back and forth. As you can tell, I kind of go one way with it and then rotate and go the other way with it. It kind of helps create an angle for nails and kind of squeezes that board in instead of just kind of shooting them directly in there. I believe these are 1.25" brad nails that I'm using here with this brad nailer. The idea behind this was to be able to put these backers on and not have to wait for the glue to dry to be able to use it. Because I just used to basically make flags without the backers and just glue them together, and I would have to leave them in the clamp, you know, at least 30 minutes to overnight before I could work on it again. But at least this way I can take it out of the flag jig and work on it again, or continue to work on it. And there's the reveal. Alright, now I'm setting up to be able to carve out these stars. Again, this is a star carving template that I got from That Fly Company. I purchased this one through Amazon. Again, link in the description if you are interested in this. I don't have a CNC yet, so I've been probably done about a dozen flags this way. I'm using a Dremel. I forget the model number. I'll link it down below. I believe I'm using a 109 carving bit, and then I've got their base, kind of router base there. It's not adjustable. It's just fixed. Well, you can adjust it, but it's not like adjust on the fly type thing. And basically, with this steel template, I did that and apparently lost a lot of footage. I apologize. But there's the reveal. There's some chip out that I have to fix, but so far it looks really good, and you can really see the flag come together. But as far as the bit goes, I just put it to where it's just below the bottom half of the steel template, and then I can carve it that way. But it looks pretty good. They also have different sizes, which is nice. Then I take a torch and I kind of put a little bit of a burn on each of the stars to match up the white stripes. I use a miniature little butane torch for that. Again, you can get that from a home center. I'm sure I can find a link for it on Amazon. I'll throw it in the description for you. And then just a little bit of cleanup. Now I'll go over to the router table here that I have built into my table saw, and I'm basically cutting in shelves for the coins. I have a rabbiting bit that I think is set to 3/8 of an inch height and depth, and this is how I do it. Kind of support the wood with another piece of wood so it's not slipping out. These shelves are about 3/4 inch square, and I just make 3 of them doing this. Then I take my little mattress pump here and blow off all the dust. Nice little accessory from Ryobi. Link in the description. Obviously, I'm playing a little bit too much with it. Okay, setting up a crosscut slit here so I can basically fit the shelves on the flag appropriately. I'm doing it on the small white stripes on the top right. Typically when I do challenge queen flags, I do all the white stripes, but this particular person didn't have that many coins. And I run a bead of glue and I put it on the white stripe here, and then I take a brad nailer and I nail them from the front side to secure them. I think I throw about 5 or 6 nails in them, and again I'm angling my brad nailer to be able to have the nails kind of pull the wood into the flag. Keep it nice and secure. And of course I wipe up any glue squeeze out that comes out. And then I don't think I recorded it, but I also did burn these shelves as well. Well, you can tell, but I didn't record the process. Again, first YouTube video. Gotta cut some slack. I like to use French cleats to mount my flags to the wall here. So basically I'm just kind of sizing in between those 2 backers there, and then I'll cross-cut this spare piece of wood I have. I believe this is spare from the 1x8 that I had, so I'm not using any additional wood here. And then I couldn't figure out for the life of me to figure out how to rip a board evenly at 45 degrees, but I figured it out. It's not 100% perfect, but it's close enough. And that's what I'm kind of trying to figure out now. Got it figured out. I got a push stick, and then I make the cut. Make sure I turn off the blade before I pick it up, and it looks pretty good. Okay, so basically I take one end and I attach it to the flag here. Bevels down, I guess. I used a lot of glue, probably too much glue, using my fingers to get over it. Spend a lot of time spreading the glue. And then I just make it flush to the top of the flag, and then I drive a bunch of brad nails in it, making sure that it fits well here. And then let's see what I'm doing here. Here we go. And I'm shooting a bunch of brad nails in, even though I completely blocked my camera view. Obviously, I'm going a little crazy because I had to reload my brads, but there it is. So, Cricut vinyling later that my wife did. We did 3 lines of customization on 3 black flags, or 3 black stripes. As you can tell, this is what the flag looks like with some coins on it, and with the custom engraving, or custom vinyl, I should say. I think this turned out pretty well. This was a retirement gift for a coworker. It was made back in January. It's March now. But he really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun making this. Obviously, every time I make an American flag, I try to find better ways to improve myself, to be able to A, make it look better, and B, to do things easier. So, really enjoyed this project. Thank you for hanging out. And hopefully I can produce some more videos later on in the future. Who knows? Some B-roll glamour shots.